The National Desk, America's News, now.
The collapsed Key Bridge is a supply chain and traffic nightmare. Just how long before the port and bridge are operational again? Early estimates are in. And President Biden and former President Trump, for the second time in 2 months, are traveling to the same state on the same day. The very different reasons why the last two presidents head to New York. The president has been invited to testify before the House Oversight Committee on April 16th. What the chairman wants to know and why this date is so significant. This is the National Desk, America's News. Now, thanks for being here. I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and it was a very bittersweet day in Baltimore as the city is still reeling from the horrific Key Bridge collapse while their beloved Orioles open their baseball season. We'll have more on that. Right now, discussions underway on how to quickly clear the debris to open Baltimore's port as well as constructing a new bridge. FHWA's administrator saying there's not an exact timeline yet, but time will not be wasted.
I think we can rule this out being a days and weeks. And if it is months, it's going to be many, many months. So I would say we're probably in the 1 to 2 year time frame. But does that become a little bit shorter, a little bit longer? That will depend on what we discover as we move forward.
But in the short term, local officials are still investigating what went wrong with the dolly and if there are immediate environmental concerns stemming from the crash itself. The National Desk, Alexa Ashwell, is in Baltimore.
Baltimore stands strong. Baltimore stands tough. And Baltimore plans on seeing it through. So we are all here for opening day.
From Camden Yards, Maryland Governor Wes Moore addressing the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge during his opening remarks this opening day. State and local leaders, including Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, also present. Meanwhile, just 7 miles away, the collapsed bridge. 4 victims still unaccounted for and many unanswered questions.
All the investigations are still very preliminary. And as more information comes out from the investigations, we'll get a better sense of what exactly happened, both leading up to the crash and also anything that could have done to prevent it.
The NTSB providing its latest update last night, revealing they're reviewing data from the ship's voyage data recorder, looking into reports that power on the ship had been a problem before it left the port, and investigating whether tainted fuel could have been part of the problem.
That'll be part of our investigation.
The NTSB also detailing there's hazardous material from the cargo ship leaking into the water, creating a sheen on the surface. An update local leaders did not disclose during any of their updates.
Should people have been notified sooner?
It's a question we took to Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby as soon as opening day opening remarks concluded.
Obviously, any sheen is concerning, but we knew very early on that it wasn't losing significant diesel into the water.
Okay, so how concerned should the area surrounding public be?
I think from an environmental perspective, not concerned at all. Again, EPA from a federal and state perspective has been involved from day one.
Do you think local officials should have warned them sooner, the people of Baltimore?
I don't think there was anything to warn.
A live look now over Rockford, Illinois, where 22-year-old Christian Soto was arraigned today, charged with 11 counts of murder and intent to kill, as well as 2 counts of home invasion with a deadly weapon. Prosecutors say he is a danger to the community. Additional charges are expected to be filed. Yesterday afternoon, Soto is alleged to have gone on a stabbing spree that left 4 people killed, including a 15-year-old girl, a 63-year-old woman, a 49-year-old man, and a 22-year-old man. 7 others were injured. At least one of them remains hospitalized in critical condition. Former President Donald Trump was in Massapequa, New York today, along with hundreds of others to attend the wake of murdered NYPD officer Jonathan Diller. Diller was shot and killed Monday during a traffic stop. The alleged killer, Guy Rivera, has had 21 prior arrests. Diller leaves behind his wife and a 1-year-old son.
Their child, brand new, beautiful baby, sitting there innocent as can be, doesn't know how his life has been changed. But the Diller family you'll never be the same. You can never be the same. And we have to stop it. We have to stop it. We have to get back to law and order.
President Biden is also in New York today, but did not attend the wake. He, along with former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, are hosting a Democratic fundraiser at the Radio City Music Hall. Stephen Colbert will moderate a discussion between the presidents, and it is expected that the star-studded event will raise more than $25 million for Biden's re-election campaign. In Georgia, the first pretrial hearing was held following the dismissal of prosecutor Nathan Wade. Attorneys for Donald Trump tried to dismiss the case, saying the former president's comments about the 2020 election are constitutionally protected, even if they were false. Prosecutors say his false remarks were part of a criminal operation to overturn the election's results.
There is nothing alleged factually against President Trump that is not political speech. Is the state's position that fraud or false statements under these circumstances, which I suggest really is alone, is that enough to get it by an as-applied challenge? Our position is it's not.
He's not being prosecuted for lying. He's being prosecuted for lying to the government, an act which is illegal because it does harm to the government.
No decision was made at the conclusion of the hearing. Judge Tanya Chutkin, who is presiding over the federal election fraud case, had ruled against a similar motion of First Amendment protection. The trial date, if it moves forward, still has not been set. Officials are working to determine the cause of a fire involving a propane tank at a concession kiosk in D.C. near the Lincoln Memorial. A man was rushed to the hospital this morning with serious, non-life-threatening injuries. Officials put out the fire and the propane tanks were secured. Park police say there's no ongoing public safety concern. Riley Strain's family has ordered a second autopsy after the first one showed no water in his lungs, even though he was found in a river. We're working to pull up that video for you. A family friend said the missing college student was found dead without his wallet, pants, or shoes. Metro Nashville police say Strain's death appears accidental. The friend said a public visitation and celebration of life is set for tomorrow. The number of people applying for unemployment benefits has dipped slightly. The Labor Department says claims fell by 2,000 last week, bringing the total number to 210,000. The 4-week average of claims decreased to just 211,000. Overall, 1.8 million people received unemployment benefits the week ending March 16th. Gas prices could be $4 a gallon for the first time in 2 years. This is unwelcome news for the Federal Reserve, which is working to reduce inflation, and the White House looking to win another term in November. National correspondent Janae Bowens explains the causes and ramifications of rising gas prices.
Rising gas prices are top of mind for Americans across the country.
Extra $50-$60 a week on gas that we didn't have to spend before.
I don't like it. It's a little bit more expensive than I'd like to pay.
Like if you're just earning like $15 per hour, like your whole day is just for a gas.
The current average Thursday for a gallon of regular is $3.54. That's 43 cents higher than it was on January 1st.
Gasoline prices always rise every spring. This is what they always do.
We're making the transition over to cleaner, more expensive blends of gasoline that are required by the EPA for the warmer weather.
Refinery production slowed down, increasing consumer demand as the weather warms up, and global supply issues all contribute to the spike.
The uncertainty in the Middle East, something could develop there that eventually pushes prices over $4.
An unexpected hurricane or refinery outage could push prices up too.
Gas prices are rising as Washington is battling inflation. The spike threatening to complicate matters both politically and policy-wise.
With gas prices now being slightly inflationary, it may be one of the pieces of data that the Fed may be looking at for the timing of potentially when they may start lowering interest rates.
Rising gas prices in the middle of a tight presidential campaign, not something President Joe Biden wants to be facing as he battles slumping approval ratings. An Economist YouGov poll out this week shows 60% of Americans disapprove of Biden's handling of inflation. And some drivers told me gas prices may have an impact on who they vote for in November.
I would hope that that's something on the agenda.
We're thinking about the economy.
Now, Dee, Biden could catch a break on this issue down the road. The gas experts we spoke with expect prices to drop after the summer travel season. But how much they drop could play into voters' thinking on Election Day.
And Janae, who do Americans blame for high gas prices?
So a January poll from Newsweek shows more than half of Americans who feel that gas prices have risen recently blamed the U.S. government for the increase. Didi.
Live from Washington, D.C., Janae Bowens, thank you. Coming up next year on the National Desk, pressing ahead, the latest effort by House Republicans to remove DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Then new warnings about how artificial intelligence could undermine the 2024 election. And later, the terrible living conditions that may force asylum seekers to move from a motel in Maine. That's when we come back. The House will send impeachment articles against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to the Senate on April 10th. Speaker Mike Johnson informed Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer in a letter today. The House impeached Mayorkas in February, Republicans accusing him of committing high crimes and misdemeanors related to his handling of the southern border. The Democratic-controlled Senate is not expected to convict Mayorkas. Johnson is calling on Schumer to hold a Senate trial. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has invited President Biden to testify as part of the influence peddling investigation. The committee posted the invitation on X today, suggesting Biden appear on April 16th, the day after Donald Trump's New York criminal trial starts. Biden has denied participating in his family's business activities. Despite many warnings from the U.S., Israel has begun isolating Rafah and is prepared to start to clear civilians out of the area into new tent camps ahead of a military operation. This comes one day after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told a delegation of Congress members that victory is a few weeks away when Israel captures or kills Hamas's remaining leaders in Gaza, presumed to be in Rafah. Congressman Seth Moulton, who did 4 active duty tours in Iraq, doesn't believe it will be that easy.
I don't think he understands how this works. I don't think he understands counterinsurgency. I don't think he's heeded any of the lessons that America painfully learned through 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan about fighting terrorists in this kind of environment. And so it's not going to end in 2 weeks, that's for sure.
As Israel prepares to invade Rafah, they have also begun possible preparations for an invasion of Lebanon as well. Reports out of Israel say the IDF held surprise drills today, simulating a full-scale war versus Hezbollah to their north. Hezbollah and Israel have been trading fire since October 7th, but no troops from either side have crossed their shared border yet. Pennsylvania voters will still have to write the date on their mail-in ballot envelopes. An appeals court upheld enforcement of this requirement, which disqualified thousands of votes in the 2022 election. The ACLU of Pennsylvania opposed the decision, while various Republican groups praised it. Democrats have been more likely to vote by mail than Republicans in the state. The next few months will bring us fully into the throngs of the 2024 election campaign, but this year will be like no other, with warnings artificial intelligence could be a major threat, including in the days just before Americans head to the polls in November. Here's national correspondent Christine Frizzell.
The landscape is changing with new warnings about artificial intelligence and our democracy.
It's one of my areas of greatest concern, the more general ability of these models to manipulate, to persuade.
Industry leaders acknowledge deepfake audio has become indistinguishable from real people's voices, with this example of how it presents a danger, with a voice impersonating the president discouraging people from voting in New Hampshire's primary.
It's important that you save your vote for the November election. Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans in their quest to elect Donald Trump again.
The Federal Communications Commission has now banned deepfake robocalls, and the Federal Trade Commission has proposed a ban on impersonation of individuals in government and business. But despite those actions by the FCC and the FTC, Rob Weissman, president of Public Citizen, says the FEC needs to do much more.
The Federal Election Commission is completely falling down on the job and leaving us terribly vulnerable in the 2024 election cycle.
He says on a positive note, many states have taken action. The Georgia House last month passed a bill making it a felony to use deceptive video or audio to impersonate candidates.
How can we have election integrity without knowing what the candidates are saying and what they're truthfully saying, what they truthfully believe in?
YouTube now requires labels for some AI-generated content, with similar policies from Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram. But concerns are rising that bad actors will simply not follow those policies.
If you're a candidate and you're portrayed 2 days before the election in a video falling down drunk, you're in a lot of trouble. And to get up and tell people that wasn't me, that's going to be a hard sell because people will have seen it with their own eyes.
One of the greatest concerns, that things could get so out of control that people don't trust anything they see or hear. And that lack of trust could undermine American democracy for years to come. I'm Christine Frizzell for the National Desk.
President Biden announced new steps to protect people who buy what he calls junk insurance. A Biden advisor said these short-term health insurance plans are often misleading. They'll now be limited to 3 months and can only be renewed for 4 months max, shortened from 3 years. The plan will also have to clearly explain the limits of their benefits. Ford is planning to significantly reduce the number of hourly workers at its factory that builds the F-150 Lightning as electric vehicle sales slow. The automaker already cut production of the electric pickup truck earlier this year. Ford will start cutting the workforce next week at the Dearborn, Michigan plant. The workers will either be transferred or offered a retirement package. Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of cryptocurrency exchange FTX, gets a 25-year prison sentence in the massive fraud case. He was convicted in November on fraud and conspiracy charges after FTX's collapse. The judge determined SBF could do something criminal in the future and that he posed a risk to others. Prosecutors say he cost customers and investors $10 billion in a quest to fuel his rise in the budding crypto industry. On this morning edition on the National Desk, attorney Mo Vella, who sits on the board of Unicoin, explained how you can protect yourself moving forward with investments in the field of cryptocurrency.
What I say to investors is look for those that are asset-backed, for example, that you can go and see immediately what assets back this coin. You can go and see who manages the company, how they're marketing the company, how they present themselves, and more importantly, how are they compliant with the SEC? And of course, every investment is a risk, right? So we have to remember that underlying premise. All investments have a risk, every single one of them across the board. But let's mitigate those risks, and cryptocurrency is no different in that sense. You got to mitigate your risk.
You can watch this entire interview and all of the interviews you may have missed or want to see again on the National Desk at thenationaldesk.com. Puerto Rico is under a public health emergency because dengue fever is spreading. There have been 140% more cases so far this year than the same period last year. Dengue fever is spread through mosquitoes and can be severe. The island's health department is focusing on early detection, data collection, and education. The emergency lasts for 90 days. Snacking on fruit throughout the day may help with your spring shape-up plan. Medical reporter Liz Bonas shares how a few might even help with weight loss.
Hey there, everybody. You know, the most likely time of day that we crave a snack is usually 2 to 4 in the afternoon. May have you perhaps stopping by your office cafe, or if you're not lucky to have one of those, it might have you hitting the traditional snacks. But there is a new list out of something that might make a difference. You could delay that snack time, maybe 30, 45 minutes, with the right fruits for weight loss.
If it's the color orange, I'll probably eat it.
Topping the list, as Ethan Sorensen knows, think citrus. He came by Ohio's Madison's at Findlay Market to pick up a few faves.
We got blood oranges and then also navel oranges.
Oranges, grapefruits, and lemons, all great for weight loss. They're juicy and really satisfying. A few others that make the list, kiwis and apples.
Apples are high in fiber, so when you eat apples, you feel a little more satisfied.
Then think berries this time of year.
A lot of the berries have antioxidants, which are good.
Strawberries and blueberries are low in calories and satisfying to the sweet tooth.
We did get strawberries, but that's for my girlfriend.
Finally, don't forget that avocados are also a fruit. Research links them to less belly fat. All of these, of course, just a good balance to at least 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables each day.
We sell a lot of fruits and vegetables at Madison's, but what's coming in season now mostly is like your lettuces, spinach, baby kale, stuff that can tolerate the cooler weather.
Now, just in case you're wondering if fruits and vegetables are not your thing, a snack is 200 calories or less. So banana, maybe 100 calories, but something like this, you can simply pick up the back, look at the back, and see if you can find that 200 or less calorie snack. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
Coming up, who's now finding themselves the subject of blame after a bomb threat derailed a drag queen story hour at a Pennsylvania library. We'll be right back after this. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start in Pennsylvania, where Lancaster County commissioners are facing accusations that a bomb threat at a library was their fault.
A packed county commissioner meeting following a bomb threat at the Lancaster Public Library, where a drag queen story hour was set to take place on Saturday. Members and supporters of the LGBTQ+ community attended the meeting, voicing frustration with Commissioners Josh Parsons and Ray D'Agostino.
We are disappointed in your words and your actions. Josh, you need to learn from this experience and not spew judgment based on misinformation that can spin into hatred.
I, Jennifer Lee Sligo-Meyer, resident of Lancaster County, request that the two of you resign your commissions.
But not all in attendance shared the same feelings.
I don't think Commissioner Parsons and D'Agostino deserve this.
An infestation could force asylum seekers to move from a motel in Portland, Maine. Inspectors issued violations to the owners after finding cockroaches and rodents in more than one unit at the Motel 6. Another violation had to do with rental registration requirements. The violations have to be corrected by July 1st. The city says people can stay in the rooms until then.
When a battery-powered vehicle does catch fire, it's potentially life-threatening, like this vehicle that explodes with firefighters nearby. There's the danger, and there's also the potential for environmental pollution. Reading Fire Chief Jared Van Landingham says it takes 60 to 70,000 gallons of water to put out the fire, and there's the chance it will reignite later. So,
if that fire is not causing extension to other things around it, we're probably just going to let it burn here in the Reading area. Now, if that fire is catching other things on fire, exposures nearby, then we have no choice but to actually tackle it with water and do the best we can.
Coming up next, it's a big day for Major League Baseball. Which teams started their seasons first and which ones have to wait until tomorrow. We'll be right back. As we come back on air, let's take you out to the ballpark where 24 of 30 teams start their seasons on Major League Baseball's opening day today. It all started a little after 3 p.m. in Baltimore in a game that just went final where the Orioles defeated the Angels 11-3. The Dodgers and Padres played today, but their season started actually last week in Seoul. The Mets, Brewers, Phillies, and Braves were rained out and begin their seasons tomorrow. In about 40 minutes, the men's Sweet 16 part of the NCAA tournament tips off. The first game is 6-seeded Clemson against number 2 Arizona in the West region. Also tonight, number 1 seeded and reigning champion UConn takes on San Diego State. Both of those teams made the Final Four last year. Alabama plays North Carolina tonight, and in the final game this evening, Illinois takes on Iowa State. That's going to do it for us for this edition of the National Desk. We invite you to join us again this evening for more coverage on America's top stories. Just check your local listings. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tonight.